want to do a short video this time about, because we're talking about who should and who shouldn't have what might be called a sex change, genital reconstruction surgery, although it actually goes a fair ways beyond that. And I take a fairly narrow view on this. We'll start with the worst cases first. I think that non-homosexual females should never have sex change surgery. Now that's my opinion, but I'm looking at a huge number of cases of people who've had, young women who've had surgeries and deeply regret them only a matter of 2 or 3 years later. I think it's completely unreasonable to do that sort of thing. And I think that essentially for that class of people, this surgery is just totally wrong. It shouldn't happen. It's just damaging bodies for no good reason. I think for the second class that I would think are number 3, homosexual females, that is lesbians, butch lesbians, trans men. To be quite honest with you, from what I've read and those I've spoken to, let's put it this way, the success of female to masculine surgery is far lower than that of male to feminine. If you fancy being a guinea pig, basically, yeah. As a homosexual woman, as a female rather, and if you're a sexual invert, you'll have male sexuality, you'll want to penetrate, so it's all really understandable what you want to do, but just ask yourself if you're actually going to be able to do it with the surgeries you're going to have. It's a really serious decision, and it's a much bigger issue for females, okay, than it is for males. I'm sorry, it just is. There's far more surgeries involved, they are far more invasive, and to be honest with you, the techniques are just not as well developed. They just aren't. Now, second to the top are non-homosexual male transitioners who remain wholly or partially attracted to women. For these people to have neovaginas, that is penectomies if you like, is completely nuts. It's craziness. You're talking about people who still want to have sex with women, having their penises removed. And they're going to invent some, woolly case of fantasy here to say how that's all right because they're really transbians and trans lesbians or anything else like that. It's all complete baloney. They suffer from a serious delusion, which is bad enough, and that without anything else. And what happens is that as a result of this delusion, which is called autogynephilia, remember, they develop a thing called body dysmorphia directed at their penis. So they start to hate their penis. Now, this is just all wrong. This is not a good reason to have a neovagina, right? It just isn't. So these really should not do it. And I know that they just love to rush off and get in the queue and da-de-da. It's a terrible mistake. Don't do it. The one category, or really there are 2 categories of transitioner that I think, for whom I think GRS is a reasonable way forward, a reasonable path, are those non-homosexual male to feminine transitioners who are wholly attracted to men, right? Now that is normally seen to be a form of something called pseudo-bisexualism, but in this context I'd actually call it pseudo-homosexuality. Some people call it androphilia, complete androphilia. And for these people, because they are actually only attracted to men, right? And it only happens when they're in feminine role, by the way, because remember there are 2 people inside an autogynephile's head, and these are people for whom the feminine character is really in charge. It's possible that for them that might work. It might be okay for them to have that surgery, because then they can actually have sex the way that their feminine character wants to have it. But really the gold standard case is the homosexual transsexual. Now, not all homosexual transsexuals need GRS. I've already explained in many videos that this form of homosexuality should be called transgender homosexuality. It's on a scale, an etiological scale, from those who are slightly feminized to those who are so feminine they can't live as men. And even amongst the most extremely feminized ones, it's not true that they all need GRS. You know, it just isn't true. So they are the only sensible candidates, but even then not all HSTS will require GRS. So you need to really think about it. Do not be railroaded. You're trans, you'll want surgery. That's complete nonsense. I mean, walk around the Philippines. There are hundreds of thousands, certainly, of highly passable trans women living as women and still have cocks between their legs. You know, they've got boyfriends, they just live as women. And the fact of not having a vagina, because these are people who are actually able to have anal sex and enjoy it, it doesn't bother them a bit. I mean, if you're unable to have anal sex and enjoy it, then how do you get penetrated other than having a neo-vagina? And in these cases, yes, that's certainly one good argument for having it. It allows a trans woman like that to have sex just as the way every other woman would have. You know, there's no cognitive dissonance at all. It's all, yeah, that's the way it is. For HSTS, remember that it's very, very, very rare for a non-homosexual male to feminine transitioner to actually be able to live in her target gender without being outed, basically. They can't really live in stealth because they're discovered. You know, people know what they are. Many HSTS, particularly in the West, not so much here, but particularly in the West, they live in complete stealth. Nobody knows that they were born male. Nobody at all. And so they construct complete lives, you know. Typical example is the young person transitions, socially and hormonally, goes to live in a new town, doesn't tell anybody about her background, gets a job, maybe gets married. Maybe the guy's obviously going to know, but still, nobody else will know. And she will live her life in absolute paranoia that someday somebody will find out, you know. And she'll be in a car accident or something, and the first providers will, oh my God, she's got a penis. And yes, people have died for that kind of thing. Or she wants, her friends, her girlfriends are all going to the beach, and she can't go to the beach because, you know, how does she hide this if things get a little bit, you know, they're having fun and playing volleyball, you know, it can pop out. So that's a very good lifestyle reason for saying, look, just to hell with it. Remember, an HSTS trans woman does not, at least not voluntarily, does not use her penis. She's no interest in penetrating anyone. They don't do it. So the penis is just a piece of decoration, really. Quite honestly, I don't want to get too, freak you out, but HSTS, they actually very rarely even masturbate using their penises. It's something they might do once a month. And only then, so I think I better ought to do it. Most of the time, that's just not how they approach sex. Although they have plenty of very healthy orgasms, they do it the other way. So for them, an HSTS in a situation like that, or in a domestic situation where she's worried about being discovered, she just wants to find a nice bloke and have nice sex with him and be a normal married woman, yeah, go for it. Just go for it. And there certainly are plenty of examples now, dating back to the time of Georges Bourou working in Casablanca, that prove that the women like this can have extremely good lives. And as women, as women, it's not a problem. They're not really transsexuals anymore. They're women. And they're not part of any scene or anything like that. They are actually women living as women and dating men. And that's it. And yes, in their cases, GRS becomes very, very much more attractive and more reasonable. In the Philippines here, Southeast Asia, it's quite different because the culture is different. The culture here is not really transphobic. The culture in the West is transphobic. I don't care what they say. It still is. And it's possibly even getting worse. Here in Asia, well, what the hell, who cares? The difference really is this. If you're a feminine boy, for whatever reason, in Southeast Asia, you're a bakla. Well, in the Philippines, you're a bakla. Thailand, you're a katoy. Indonesia, you're a waria. There's different names all over the same place to mean the same thing. And we'll use the Filipino term, bakla. That's it. And once you're a bakla, that's it. It doesn't matter what you do. It just doesn't matter. So a lot of the baklas here just go, hell, why not? Grow out the hair, get the boobs, have some fun. It's just not like that in the West. It just isn't. And for Western people like Sam, my fiance, if she was living in the West, then yeah, for her it would certainly be smart to consider GRS, and she probably wouldn't do it here. You know, it's just different. Anyway, that's enough of that. Those are the categories of trans women and of trans people, and I personally think that the only ones who should even consider GRS are the gold standard HSTS, right? Who need it, who desire it, and who need it, and those non-homosexual transitioners who have become what I call pseudo-homosexual as a part of the feminine role that they play. And if that's really well established and their self-ideation is clear, then in their cases it's possible. But for all of these people who are running around saying, oh, I've got a penis and it shouldn't be there, that's just body dysmorphia. That's not an excuse for this kind of behaviour. These are not excuses for having these surgeries. Sorry, it just isn't. If you're still attracted to women as a male transitioner, then don't even think about it. Don't think about it. It's a bad idea. Okay, bye.